too close to it. No, no, you gotta have a path there. I guess, could look like I was crowding corners there.
20 years ago, I did that, they took a piece of gaffer's tape and put it on it, and totally forgot about it. I must have washed it 30 more times and washed it. And it never came on. Yeah, I never, totally forgot all about it. And my wife said, I was wondering how many more times you did it with the gaffer's tape on it. Third.
A vendor on his way into the thing got killed by a shuttle bus. He got there in his car and drove onto the median to try and drive around it to get in. Apparently the cop was screaming at him to stop. He didn't, so he chased him and he stopped.
The cop handcuffed himself, the cop handcuffed himself to Shuffler's car, and then Shuffler's trying to like drive away.
So now he's being charged with assaulting a police officer.
Yeah. Well, he didn't drive that far, I guess.
No, he didn't drive that far, but they reached for him.
I didn't hear about that.
They reached for him and
I have some members of the Bangladesh media,
So what?
and I told them we're tight on space. Is there any way we could shift
Yeah,
all the cameras like a little bit closer together?
Oh, yes.
Alright, awesome. Thank you so much. Sorry to make you be on top of each
Cozy
other.
Friday.
It's very much the police that choose. I do not believe.
He's getting
So
the
that's
job.
it.
Oh, it's those guys from, it's those
It's
guys
those
who,
guys, you know.
those guys who cover the mayor a lot.
Yes.
Right, right,
Yes,
that's, they're gonna have a cell phone.
Yeah, but they're also gonna be like getting
I didn't do it,
getting in the
swear to
way as they did
You've
that.
been watching
Mayor's
Jackie's
thing.
pieces every,
Oh my God.
When he got elected last time.
yeah,
Yeah, oh,
40 years around.
Right?
We're
jumping
district
on that.
right there.
I know, it's just,
right.
Yeah.
Not too much for the road.
Yeah, we're on Washington and
I
Gray
agree.
Post Office.
Yeah, back,
OKC.
yeah, there was a lot of things, and it's funny because Dave Graber interviewed me.
That's right.
Because of Oklahoma City stuff.
Okay.
And then I said something to Dave about it, we spent like 3 or 4 months going back and forth and staying in Denver for the new place round. And he's like, he said, she sent us for 3 months. Yeah, they do that all the time. We get it set to like, yeah.
Who?
But it's gonna rain, right?
Later.
Back, way back when, so, but we would stay for like 2 weeks at a time, come back, and then maybe be back for 2 days and then go back.
How humid it was gonna be.
Yeah, isn't it sticky up there?
Yeah, that's.
But they also, but, you know, and then they, we,
I remember when they sent me and the Gully to the Air Force detainment.
Yeah.
The 107.
yeah,
So we went to Boston for a day.
yeah. But they used to send us all.
Lewis,
Yeah.
everything. Everything. Big for everything.
It's crazy. Surprised that, you know, back in, of course, during the military trial, I was in, Ocean about that for months.
They alternated, I think. We sent Keith, they sent like Mickey, and then they sent
Yeah.
Bodie and Swenson.
Oh, yeah.
It's Rick Swenson. And
Yeah.
they sent all a bunch of people out.
How's he doing, I wonder?
Good. Like, the last I talked to his son, he said he was doing good.
Yeah.
There's a line of showers on it.
But yeah, we used to do a lot. So somebody, I don't know, I forgot who was shooting it. The interview, and somebody said, like, they used to send you places? Yeah, all,
Travel for football season, well, that's about. They used to send us places, and we had to put the tape on an airplane and fly it back
Yeah.
for the next show. What? What about satellite trucks?
What's tape?
I got to tell the
What's
story.
satellites?
I got, well, it's funny, because I got to tell the story. I said, you know, they send us to Oklahoma City with no, like, nothing, a camera.
Yeah.
So, we were borrowing edit time and set trucks. So they said, it's funny, so I get told, it's the first set truck, it's a big white one. So I jump into the truck, and the tech says, look, I've got a tape leader for you, I got everything ready to go, just do your thing. And I started editing my piece, and he goes, oh my God, Mr. Broka's gonna love that piece. I'll bring this tape back. And I ran out the door. I'm in the wrong truck.
We loaded up, and I was working part-time when I first Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
In July, and then in August, we went to the Democrat one in New York. The first one in Detroit. And they said, you'll probably just be driving back and forth to the airport to bring the tapes.
Yeah.
Well, I never did that. I went once to each airport, that was it. Don Pollock, the feature reporter, did all that because he had this, he would edit his stuff on the back of what we did.
Oh, that's funny.
Or on the front of what we did, and then he would take the tape while we were out shooting the
Sure.
next story for them for like 6/11. We were
Absolutely.
shooting stuff constantly, 6/11, 6/11. No, we would go 5 or something like
Yeah,
that.
no.
But all you do, we would bring literally 3 boxes of tapes.
Yeah.
There would be an entire box of tapes, the W tapes to send back, or 2 boxes to send back, and a box to send you, to send, shoot.
Wherever you can fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nuts. Think about that.
We sent more tapes back than we shot.
Hi, how are you?
Yes.
Good to see you.
No, you're good, I'm just gonna stand behind the camera.
space
They're gonna,
Yeah, there'll be a second, you know, you can have both cameras.
No,
there.
no.
I'll just even-
It's funny,
Well, they have to walk right down that wall.
We went down for Hurricane Andrew down in Homestead, Florida. We landed in West Palm, and I pick up, I go to the first show,
Right,
and I buy
right here.
lots of roast beef sandwiches,
The choices are limited.
snacks, and 2 or 3 cartons of Marlboros. I said, why are you doing this? You got no place to add it, these poor bastards in the satellite trucks. Can't go any place. They're like, I'll trade you. Added time for a sandwich. It's brilliant. It's their stuff there. They kept leaving. But now to think, satellite city doesn't exist anymore.
Well, sometimes.
Something.
It's gotta be a really big story.
Yeah, but still.
You want you to go live?
Good, how are you?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay.
Get the other shit.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no hat.
Yeah.
What's the bigger story than this?
So he's finally indicted on the murder,
Oh, yeah.
for not just the weapons thing, yeah, but the big one is. So they're different versions of it, yeah, so murder one, which is the highest, is which because it's multiple people intentionally murdered, and then 2 counts of murder 2, I think, and then.
Criminal
Weapons.
possession second, and then criminal possession third.
Yeah.
Of a weapon.
They'll give us a press release and everything, don't worry.
Yeah.
And social walk order.
The secondary criminal possession weapon is probably just the possession of that weapon without a license.
Yeah, it was nice, but,
And like an extension to the parking of the, or
It
the
is,
stock
yeah,
itself,
it's like that weird, like foldable
Yeah.
something.
So the
Yeah.
equipment is not like what would be third,
Yeah.
because that's at least from
Yeah.
the expansion that they passed, what, a couple years ago?
Right,
That-
the
That's
CPAC.
included in the third, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's for media, that's fine. Yeah, they won't, they won't. I mean, did you put something in it to say your media? Oh, that's right, because you have the reserve thing. Yeah, sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly, yeah, it's like I said.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna, oh, okay. Are you gonna announce something today? Or-
It's in the process, so that's when the process is done.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
okay.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
It
let me
is.
know, absolutely.
She's.
No, it's incredible there, I looked at
Yeah.
one was 68 and the other was like, they're both really high.
So they did for them,
Yeah.
my kids and the
Yeah.
son, and then this one, me, my brother, another doctor.
Okay.
About the French fries, she loved sweet sour sauce.
Oh, and that.
Take a dip, suck it off and then eat it. She kept coming
Hmm?
back.
That's right.
Very different, very different. Videos are very different, yeah. You know, it's still red stories, but it's really, the videos are very
Bonus
She
fries.
already knows that.
so sad.
They're the best.
What are those one they come
She already knows that.
Like, will they?
This, your feet?
I think so.
Dale Cummings?
Yeah,
She's
that's
still
one.
young,
That's the rest.
Thank you.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
only 30.
Should be on the
That's
beach.
true.
Probably the family is
Alright.
pressure, but
Cool. We'll get it.
yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
kids are also.
They give you like.
Right now it's not possible, but she's pregnant.
Yeah, no,
That's another hardship, but.
Yeah.
So each
From
season,
the
we
top.
she cannot even walk.
He was arrested.
Right.
She's not even.
Both
She's on
of
work
them.
permit.
She
She can't work, she can work.
I see the email, all good.
It's hard. Versus citizen
But
versus.
you knew what you were doing.
Yes.
Totally
Yeah.
different. He cannot get any facility from the city. I don't know, see, he's trying.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, right, she can't take a city job. She
Wait
has
for
one
the bus to
season.
show.
City job or defense.
Oh, Scotty,
Oh.
did you guys get your feed?
Yeah, did know sort of.
Oh, the victims.
Yeah.
No, it's not, yeah, it should be in there.
Oh.
The whole family, they moved back.
It'll be an MP4.
They're back
Go
here
to the
still.
airport to pick up.
But they want to.
Yeah.
Bus station was my
People
favorite.
took
Yeah.
it, so it's not.
It's Don McIntyre.
Oh, okay.
Southern Tier.
They're having trouble with
Pack-
kids. That's why
Parking in the
they're-
spot that said, you know, package pickup, and
Oh, and there.
you had to walk around because they were closed, and come back and
Yeah.
have a ticket on your car.
Hello.
What the hell?
Sorry, guys, a
People,
couple more
even
minutes.
Oh,
people are going,
Huntington.
taking care of them.
Yeah, we,
Yeah.
Chat.
Don Powell, the feature reporter back then, he went to the
Yeah, dinner, yeah.
1982,
Groceries,
the
every week.
World's
they're
Fair,
doing something.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh.
So we spent a few days there, and then at like Sunday morning, I think it was, Saturday morning, we drove across to Norfolk, Virginia. They were launching the submarine USS Buffalo.
Oh.
So we shot it. and
That
then-
sounds like a hit, that sounds like a follow story up and down
Yeah,
history.
so we shot it, and then he got back down after we were done and listened to some sound bites. Couldn't really say exactly where they were, because there was no time for that.
No.
10 years, 15
But
years.
they had me cue the tape up to where the boat
Missing kids.
slid into the water.
Mhm.
Took the two tapes, wrapped them
It's
up, took them to some
very
DC airport.
They're
in
just,
Norfolk.
I think they're.
They had a live
as,
truck
you know, after
waiting at the
this
airport.
stuff,
Oh, that's funny.
Technician ran in, grabbed it, stuck the B-roll tape
They're
in,
like, all right,
fed it
we'll
back
put out, you know,
live, they edited 6.
then
Yeah.
So they took the two tapes back and somebody edited it for 11 for a package.
Oh my God.
We drove to
The Burmese girl.
Philadelphia
Yeah.
and got a hotel for the night, visited some police
No.
for us.
Oh my God, that's funny, what you had to go through.
Yeah, oh no, actually, we stopped in Atlantic City, spent $20 each, below each on slot machines.
Take the job.
Then went to
Yeah,
Philly,
oh,
got a
she's,
hotel room,
most
and then,
of them,
visited with our
but
friends
still,
at dinner, and then
runaways
drove
are
back.
vulnerable.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, not anymore.
Yes and no.
No.
Did go, I drove
Like, I
twice
think
to
the
New
parents
York
didn't
City
want to show
for,
that picture, right?
for Bills, well, once was for the,
Yeah.
what was it? Oh, the NFL draft.
Oh, yeah.
And then I drove twice when they were,
Yeah.
they went once,
And
they were
sometimes
meeting
it's
the,
too early.
moving meeting with the finance commission.
Yeah.
And then when the final vote, we drove back down.
Some kids.
But I haven't driven that far in a long time now.
So I might need, I pull out some chairs, if anyone would like to sit in the back.
So, fine, maybe.
Any other side, possibly? Near where Deb is standing over there?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I usually do one or the side, have a chair, because then I can turn on the tapes. I mean, before I used to write,
It was needed
right,
too.
but like, I'll auto this, you know.
Yeah.
He's here. Yep. Are you guys all set up? I'm gonna bring the mayor and the police commissioner in, so I'll just need you to slide when they walk in.
Huh?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gender and stuff. Complete panic.
Because I thought when it was all parts there.
I don't wanna cover anybody.
And it's great. Yeah, but. No, yeah, that's actually, yeah. Well, work on your phone.
All right.
On 20 hours.
I got a phone call.
All right, I'm gonna bring them in.
You're ready?
guys.
You're ready.
All the patients told me that they received their email, so we'll take it there.
Yep, we got it. like this soft, he likes this soft. It's a stylistic choice.
Yeah, it's a choice.
Tilted a little to the left. Put that in post.
It should be okay, right? Yeah, as long as you're like, yeah.
They're walking in like.
Need this?
No, we're good.
Ready when you are. Ready? So thank you all for being here. We are here to advise the public that Dale Cummings, a 31-year-old man, was just arraigned in Erie County Court before Judge DiTullio on 5 counts under an indictment that was returned by the grand jury. Mr. Cummings has been charged with murder in the first degree, 2 counts of murder in the second degree, a count of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, and a count of criminal possession of a weapon in the third degree. This is with respect to the 2 horrific homicides that occurred on Zenner Street on April 27th, 2024 at about 12:30 in the afternoon. As you may recall, Mr. Cummings was arrested the very next day and charged with possession of the gun that was actually used in these homicides, and he has been in custody since the date of his arrest, less than 36 hours from the date of the crime. So Mr. Cummings has been remanded. The case is scheduled to be heard by Judge DiTullio. I am here this afternoon, I think. What time is it? I'm here at 11, so it's still this morning with Mayor Brown, Chief Gramaglia, Commissioner Gramaglia, Commissioner, Chief Macy, and our Assistant District Attorney who's handling the case, Chris Safuco. This is a very quick wrap-up of an investigation that started the very minutes after this homicide occurred, and we are now going to be moving forward with seeking justice for these victims. This is a horrific case. It's a case that involves, essentially the ambush of these 2 men who were at this house on Zenner Street to do some work on a house that had been sold, and it was about to be transferred. There was a door that was open that had been dislodged, and they were going there to fix the door. Mr. Cummings, and these are all allegations. I should always say that these are allegations. Mr. Cummings is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. So at this point, he's presumed innocent. But on the date of this horrific crime, Mr. Cummings was inside the house, and these 2 men approached the house. They were going to do some work to repair the door because the realtor who was going to sell the house, it was about to close, he had noticed that the door was open, and they had to go in and repair the door. It was an outside exterior door in the side of the house, and when they approached the house, as they were getting up onto the front porch, Mr. Cummings shot both of them and killed them both. He used an automatic weapon that is the basis for the 4th count in the indictment. It is a Tech 9 rifle with a detachable pistol grip magazine. It is an automatic weapon because of the modifications that were made to the gun. It's a rifle, so it's intended to be used and fired from the shoulder, but because it had a pistol grip and because it was a semi-automatic, we charged the possession of the assault weapon. So it was also defaced. That's the purpose for the 5th count in the indictment. The serial number had been scratched off, and that is also a felony for which he has been indicted. So, as the public is aware, the Bangladeshi community was shocked and devastated by this horrific crime. These 2 men that were killed, their names are Babul Mia. He was a 58-year-old man with several children, ages up to 21 years old. I think he has 7 children and a wife that he's left behind. and another young man by the name of Abu Yusuf. He's a 38-year-old man who also has a wife and left 2 children behind, and his wife is pregnant. So this is a horrific tragedy, a senseless killing of 2 men that were just there to do some work on the house. This house was being turned over. It was being squatted in by this man. Again, I'll say again, just so we're clear, these are merely allegations at this time, and Mr. Cummings is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So, this is, as I indicated, less than 3 weeks that we were able to bring this case to an indictment for an arraignment before a county court judge on murder in the first degree. He is facing life without parole. And the reason we're able to bring this case to such a quick conclusion meaning where we're now in court and we're going to be moving forward with the prosecution. The reason is for a couple of things. Number one, we had great civilian cooperation. We had civilian witnesses who have come forward and are helping us with the investigation and the prosecution. There's a lot of physical evidence in this case, and there's video evidence. So I'm not going to get into the details of the evidence, but on top of all that, there was great police work done here. The police were on top of this in response to the 911 calls right away, and the detectives whose names I want to mention because they've done a great job on a number of cases over the years, and I don't think they get enough recognition. Detective Scott Malik, Detective Mark White, Detective Raymond Krug, and Detective Sergeant Keith Fitzner. They jumped on this immediately, and they were determined and committed to finishing the investigation. Even after we had Mr. Cummings in custody the very next day, they stayed on top of the case, and all the physical evidence, all the civilian witnesses were rounded up, and we were able to get cooperation from everyone. And it was really with great, determined police work in collaboration with our office, and specifically Mr. Safuco was here, and the number of search warrants that were obtained so that we could secure the evidence. So this is an awful tragedy, but at least Mr. Cummings is now charged. We will be moving forward with the case, and we'll be appearing back in front of Judge DiTullio on June 27th for a pretrial conference, which will involve the disclosure of all the evidence that we have at the time to the defendant and his attorneys. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Joe Gramaglia for any additional comments.
Thank you. First of all, condolences go out to the family members of these 2 gentlemen, these 2 hardworking gentlemen that were just going out working on that day when this occurred, and to the community, the Bangladeshi community, and the greater community. From the onset of the initial call that came out, we had a very fast police response to this. They surrounded the house, and this turned into a lengthy crime scene at the time because of the unknown what was inside the house. Potential of an active shooter. Officers were responding to an active shooter and engaged our on-duty SWAT team members, called in with off-duty SWAT members to surround the house, and it took some time to really hold that perimeter and get that scene set up. And that's some of the things that really aided in this investigation. The immediate response of our detectives going out canvassing and then getting the cooperation of our community. We worked very quickly to get images of this individual out. The first image wasn't really of the most clarity, but then through that continued canvas work and obtaining, because of the evidence that was secured inside the home, a much better HD image that was put out to the public, and that aided in our patrol officers locating this individual. Once that image was put out, there is another individual in the community that spotted somebody that they believed was that individual. Patrol officers spent about 10 minutes circling the area looking around for this individual, spotted them, and was able to, after a brief attempt at running, was able to get this individual detained. A search warrant was obtained for that bag, as we had said before, and ultimately turned up the weapon in question. This individual was taken into custody, as the DA said, in less than 36 hours, but that didn't stop the work. There was a substantial amount of work, collaborative work between the DA's office, the Buffalo Police Department, between the homicide unit, the SWAT team, our patrol officers, to get this case to a resolution. We had this individual off the street. We were very confident where we stood at the time when we had this individual into custody. We wish we could have said a little more to the community at the time. We're here to say that now, but it was fantastic police work. We wish all of our homicide cases were able to go down this quickly, and that happens because of cooperation. I want to thank the community for their cooperation. There are other cases that we are still actively working on, and we always ask the community for their cooperation. This is how we bring these cases together quickly. Excellent police work, excellent work by the district attorney's office, and community cooperation. So again, my condolences go out to the families, to the community, the Bangladeshi community, and my thanks again to the hard work by every member of the police department that was involved in this case and to the district attorney's office. I will turn this over to Mayor Brown for some comments. Thank you.
Being here today in District Attorney Mike Kane's office is a result of excellent police work, a very quick arrest in this case, great law enforcement partnership between the Buffalo Police Department and the members of the District Attorney's office, and cooperation from the community. Those three factors is what has us here today, a quick arrest and charges brought very quickly in this case. I can't say enough about the excellent police work that went into this, the tireless police work that went into this, and the excellent work on the DA's part and that of his staff that worked tirelessly to bring us to this point. Again, I want to express my condolences to the families of the two men whose lives were taken in this senseless and terrible way by someone squatting in a vacant house. These men were there to do repairs. They were workers. They were working, and they were shot for absolutely no reason. And this could have been anybody going to that house. They happened to be in the right place, sadly, at the wrong time. Could have been a mail carrier, could have been the cable people, could have been the gas company, the electric company. It could have been children ringing that bell trying to sell candy. Anyone going to that door on that time, at that time, could have been shot. That is how senseless this crime was. And the work of the Buffalo Police Department and the work of the DA's office has made our community much safer today, because clearly that was an unstable individual, an individual that had no concern whatsoever for human life. And as mayor of the city of Buffalo, I am very thankful that this individual is off the streets of our city. Thank you.
Any questions?
Could you explain the first-degree murder charge?
Sure. Maki, it's essentially with the intent to commit a murder, he intends to commit two murders in the same criminal transaction. That's basically it. In other words, the murder in the multiple, yes, two murders in the same criminal transaction. There are a couple additional elements. You got to be more than 18 years old or more, and the victims cannot be participants in the crime. So that's the reason when you commit two murders in the same criminal transaction.
And that carries a life sentence, is that correct?
The maximum sentence for that crime, if convicted, is life without parole.
Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, could you said this could happen to anyone, but it happened to the Bengali community, and it's obviously impacted them in a huge way. What is your message to that community?
So again, this could have happened to anyone. My message to the entire community is we don't want to see crime in our community. We don't want to see crime in the city of Buffalo. And when crimes are committed, the Buffalo Police Department, working with the District Attorney's Office, works tirelessly to bring those who commit crime to justice. So again, my condolences go out to the families. My condolences go out to the community. But this definitely seems like the case. No one was targeted in this. This seems like the case of these men being in the right place to do work that they were contracted to do at the wrong time. And it seems like this individual, who I am describing as unstable, would have done that to anyone coming to that door. and I want to make that very clear. Anyone coming to that door on that day or that time, could have been shot by this individual. So the police work that went into this, the legal work by the district attorney's office that went into this to quickly get this individual off the streets and charged with this crime makes our community much safer today.
Commissioner, are we seeing more squatters? Are we seeing more problems with the?
No, I will not say that we're necessarily seeing more squatters. The Mayor's Impact Team with the Buffalo Police Department routinely goes through vacant houses in the city of Buffalo. We remove items from the vacant houses. If there are squatters, we ask them to leave, and we board up those properties so that people cannot easily get back into them. So I don't think there are more squatters than ever before in the city of Buffalo. This is an unusual circumstance. Usually, in my experience, when a squatter is found in a home and asked to leave, they leave. This is a situation where no questions asked, no conversation exchanged. Two men that are at this property to work are shot and killed without a word. So this is not something that usually happens. This is a once-in-a-million circumstance, perhaps. But the Mayor's Impact Team, Buffalo Police, routinely through vacant houses. There are far less vacant houses in the city of Buffalo than there used to be. During my time as mayor, we have demolished more than 8,000 unsalvageable vacant houses in the city of Buffalo.
Incident is happening every single day right now. There is a shooting. There is a 14-year-old teenager. She died, and it's not stopping at all. So do you take any action for that?
Of course we're taking actions. One of the things that we all continue to say is there are far too many illegal weapons on the streets of communities all across America. What is happening with shootings, with homicides, are not unique to Buffalo. We must get real about sensible gun control in this country. Until we do that, in urban communities, suburban communities, and rural communities, we are going to see innocent lives lost. And our Buffalo Police Department never stops looking for people that are responsible for committing the crime of murder in the city of Buffalo. So whether it is 24 hours, 36 hours, or 30 years, we never stop looking for the people responsible for these terrible crimes.
Can I address this question?
Yes,
too?
certainly.
We work very, very hard to reduce gun violence in our community. And I think we have seen, the data has shown that we have seen significant declines in our amount of shootings that we have in the city of Buffalo. If you look just over the last couple of years, our shootings have been down over 60%. We had 167 people shot in the city of Buffalo. Far too many last year in 2023, far too many. But when you look at what we had in 2020 and 2021, those numbers have gone down significantly through our data-driven strategic response to that and how we're managing that. As the mayor said, there are far too many guns out in our community. Our police officers and our detectives are taking a lot of guns off the street. The problem with that is the more guns we take off the street, that means there's more guns out in the community. But I know that we have impacted significant change in making this community a lot safer because of the reductions in the shootings that we had. That is little to no comfort to someone who may become the victim or who has been the victim of gun violence, but just know that we have severely impacted those numbers going in the right direction, and we continue to work on that and still continue to see declines in our shootings. The work doesn't stop.
Solvability?
Our solvability for homicides is I don't know the exact number right now, but a couple of weeks ago we were at about 136%. We're still, I think, right around that number. And the way that's factored in is the number of homicides that have occurred in this calendar year against the number of arrests that have been made in this calendar year. We have cleared cases from prior years, from last year, from 2022 going back. We made an arrest this year and cleared a case. We cleared a case this year from 2014. So we have made arrests from cases going back in others, and that's how that solvability rate is adjusted. And we also know that we've got other homicide cases that we are very close to making arrests on, and we are actively looking for suspects. So we have more cases from this year that we know that will be cleared in the very near future.
From when we last spoke about Mr. Cummings to now, you've talked about all the evidence that you've gathered. We heard in court about all the discovery that has to be handed over. What was the difference maker between then and now? What came together specifically?
So it takes a little bit of time to have the evidence analyzed. It also takes time to get the case in front of the grand jury. And we were pretty confident and extremely close the last time we spoke about this case, right after he was arraigned on the weapons charge. We knew that that was the gun that was used in the homicide, and we just needed a little bit of time to present the case to the grand jury, essentially, is the answer.
Last we spoke to Commissioner, I know you mentioned, or somebody mentioned, knowing how he may have gotten his hand on this weapon. Is that something you're able to discuss at this point, or is that still
no, that's
something that's worked out?
Yeah, that's under investigation. One of the things I mentioned is that the serial number was defaced, scratched off, essentially. So that's going to take a little bit of time.
Mr. DA, do you have any update on the 24-year-old woman who put the 2-year-old child in the makeshift cage, and how long a child endangerment sentencing could be? Sure. That case is pending in Buffalo City Court. The charge is endangering the welfare of a child. It's an A misdemeanor under New York State. The maximum penalty for that charge is 1 year in local jail. Is there any way that you, as a prosecutor, can ensure the community that something like this couldn't happen again, that mother couldn't have do something like this again?
Well, I wish I could do that, but first of all, the case is, as I understand it, and I don't want to get too far down the road here, but that case is also being investigated by CPS, Child Protective Services, for the county, and what happens with the custody of that child is going to be determined by someone else. But we are certainly taking the charge that she is facing seriously, and it will proceed through its course in Buffalo City Court.
And then speaking, this might be for the mayor or the police commissioner, what have discussions been like with the two mothers at this point? Has the city made any effort to help them in any way, or how are they processing this at this point?
You mean on this case here, Mr. Cummings?
Yeah,
yes.
apologies.
So we have a victim witness advocate that I talk about all the time. She deals exclusively with the family members of victims of homicides, and she's been doing that for years for our office. It's a tremendous asset for our office. She is essentially a social worker, and she provides them a lot of comfort and support. She also explains the process of the criminal justice system and what's going to take place in the prosecution. And now that we're at a point where this man's been arraigned, she will continue to work with the families. But they're obviously, I'm sure that they are devastated. This is an awful loss for these families. And, they both had, like I said, the young man had 2 kids, and the wife is expecting another child. And the older gentleman has 7 children. So it's an unfathomable loss for these families.
Yeah, Commissioner, could you talk about this, the Zenner Street shootings? We have had the mass shooting, as was referenced, what happened on Hurdle. Are you concerned that there's, an uptick again? And also, is there a strategy for that? And also, can you update us on those other investigations?
Yeah, as far as our strategy is set, and we are doing what we know works. Unfortunately, at times, things are going to happen that you just can't, prevent. As Chief Macy described on Hurdle, that was a fight between known people, in an area that is not prone to gun violence. Doesn't mean we're not present in those areas, but sometimes, unfortunately, things are going to happen. We know the party that it occurred, where we had 6 young people shot. Our officers were over there and spent a considerable amount of time breaking that up and dispersing people, and unfortunately, some people regathered, and then that shooting occurred. We are making significant progress on that case. We have gone through a significant amount of leads. We are moving in the right direction. The community cooperation is not what I would call helpful. We need more community cooperation. We see in this case what happens when people come forward. We know there's a significant amount of people that were present when that shooting occurred on Alexander Place. We know that. We know that people know who did it and are witnesses to that, and we need them to come forward. I know it's a tough thing for people to do, but in order to clear that case of a young 14-year-old child who was murdered, we need people to come forward and help. We are still progressing on that case, and we're confident in the direction, but there's a lot more work to do.
What about Hurdle?
Hurdle Avenue, we are in a very good position. We're moving forward in a very good position on that case. So we're expecting positive news very soon. And there's another homicide case that occurred that we're also expecting very good news on. And when I say very good news, I mean coming to a resolution with clearing a case. So I don't want to get too much into specifics on these cases, but we are making very good progress, and we expect those cases to be cleared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Judy had said that before I left. Judy had said that. And I texted, I said,